She had the clipboard, the designer heels, and 6 years of unchecked HOA rule. What she didn't have was any lawful authority to back it up. That Tuesday morning, Linda Hawthorne stood in my driveway waving a violation notice like it was a royal command. $500 a month for parking my own trucks on my own property. The nerve of it was unbelievable. These HOA bullies truly thought they owned me. While she threatened to foreclose on my home over too many vehicles, her husband's enormous RV sat parked permanently in their yard, standing tall as a monument to pure hypocrisy. Linda genuinely believed she could take my property while openly breaking her own association rules. But what she didn't know was about to bring her entire empire crashing down. Buried deep in old county files was something that would flip the balance of power overnight, turning her from neighborhood tyrant into criminal defendant faster than summer concrete hardens. Have you ever dreamed of completely crushing someone who thought they had control over you? Because that's exactly what happened, and the payback was so satisfying it's still talked about across Riverside County. Let me walk you through how this whole ordeal began. My name's Mike Torres, 52 years old, owner of Torres Concrete Solutions right here in Riverside, California. I'm a third-generation contractor. My grandfather started with just a wheelbarrow and determination. My father grew it into a solid company, and I turned it into a $2.3 million operation employing 15 local guys. About 6 months earlier, I'd gone through a divorce that felt like financial surgery without anesthesia. Nothing messy, just two people drifting apart. I needed a clean slate. My ex-wife's lawyer had already scoured every possible asset, so I decided to buy myself a fresh beginning, a beautiful 3-bedroom ranch in the Maple Ridge subdivision for $485,000 in cash. It was the perfect spot: neat lawns, the scent of jasmine climbing white fences, fresh mulch, and Saturday morning coffee wafting through the air. I invested another $30,000 in landscaping because I believe in doing things the right way. My 3 work trucks, a concrete mixer, a flatbed, and a crew pickup sat neatly parked in my circular driveway like resting giants. And that's when I met Linda Hawthorne. Meeting Linda was like stepping on a landmine disguised as a welcome mat. Picture: a 58-year-old retired bank manager, reigning HOA president for 6 consecutive years. Never once challenged, she lived in the neighborhood's prized estate, a towering colonial worth around $800,000, straight out of a luxury mortgage commercial. She measured lawn height with a ruler, clipboard in hand, and her designer heels clicked on the pavement like a metronome of doom every morning, 8:15 sharp. The first time she introduced herself, I should have taken it as a warning. "Welcome to Maple Ridge, Torres. I trust you understand our community maintains certain standards. No nice to meet you, no welcome to the neighborhood." It felt less like a greeting and more like a border inspection. At first, everything seemed fine. I kept my property spotless, helped my elderly neighbor Mrs. Morgan with her groceries, even fixed her cracked walkway free of charge. My trucks were parked legally, no different from the boats, RVs, and luxury cars scattered across the neighborhood. Then came that fateful Tuesday morning in October. My doorbell rang at 7:30 a.m. The mail carrier stood there holding a certified envelope that felt like a legal grenade. The paper inside might have been cheap printer stock, but the threat it carried was top-shelf intimidation. The violation notice practically shouted in bold red letters: "Commercial vehicles exceed community aesthetic standards and negatively impact property values. Immediate compliance required or face escalating penalties." That's when things started getting interesting. Linda demanded I either pay $500 monthly, aesthetic impact fees or remove my trucks altogether, $500 for legally parking my own work vehicles on property. I owned outright. That evening, I sat down and read every single page of our whole covenants twice. Nowhere, not once, was there any mention of commercial vehicle restrictions. And here's where the irony got delicious. Every Wednesday, Linda's landscaping crew parked their diesel trailer, industrial mowers, and chemical tanks right in front of her house for 4 straight hours. The fumes from their equipment lingered in the air like the stench of hypocrisy. When I knocked on her door that evening to talk things through like civilized adults, she stood there as if defending a fortress. "Mrs. Hawthorne," I said, "I went through the covenants. There's no rule banning work vehicles." Her chin lifted like a queen addressing a peasant. "The board has authority to establish new regulations for community welfare," she said coldly. "Your industrial trucks are inappropriate for a residential area." I gestured toward her driveway. "Yet your landscapers park commercial vehicles here every week." Her smile could have frozen antifreeze. "That's different," she snapped. "That's maintenance service, not industrial storage." In that instant, watching her expression harden, I realized this had nothing to do with trucks or aesthetics. This was about control and maybe something darker. Like deciding who belonged in her perfect little neighborhood. I had two options: surrender or fight back. What Linda didn't realize was that she'd just declared war on someone who was about to discover he owned the entire battlefield, and soon she'd hand me all the ammunition I'd need. 3 days later, I found another certified letter in my mailbox. Emergency whole board meeting. -1, 7 p.m. only 24 hours notice. Supposedly to address ongoing community compliance issues. When I showed up, there were exactly 3 people in Linda's living room: Linda herself, her neighbor Margaret Finch, and a rental property owner named Bob. 3 out of 7 board members. The air smelled like vanilla candles and thinly veiled desperation because what they were about to pull off was blatantly illegal. "Thank you for coming, Mr. Torres," Linda said, settling into her oversized chair like a bargained-in dictator. "We've convened this emergency meeting to address the commercial vehicle situation." I calmly pulled out my phone and started recording. "This meeting violates HOA bylaws," I said, "which requires 7 days advance notice." Linda's smile could have curdled milk. "Emergency situations allow expedited proceedings," she countered. "What emergency? My trucks have been there for months." That's when Bob tried to step in as the voice of reason. "Look, Mike, we're just trying to maintain property values. Maybe we can work something out." "The board has already voted," Linda interrupted. "The commercial vehicle ordinance passes. You have until Monday to comply or face $100 daily fines." I leaned back in my uncomfortable folding chair. "You voted? When exactly did that happen?" Margaret mumbled, eyes down. "We voted before you arrived." "Perfect. A secret vote. At an illegal meeting, passing an unenforceable rule." Apparently, these people missed the day they taught whole law in dictator school. See, I'd learned something valuable during my divorce. Bylaws are legally binding contracts. And when a board enforces them selectively, they violate equal protection clauses that courts love to shred apart. That weekend, I started digging, and what I found would make a private investigator proud. Turns out, Linda's son, Danny, owns Hawthorne Landscaping and parks his trailer, industrial mowers, and chemical tanks overnight in the neighborhood twice a week, not during work hours, but full overnight storage. Meanwhile, her husband Frank had a 35-foot RV and a boat trailer permanently stationed in their side yard, monuments to their own hypocrisy. When Monday morning came, I could practically smell opportunity in the air. The next official board meeting was set for Tuesday evening at the community center, and I showed up prepared with a manila folder thick enough to stop a bullet. I'd invited Mrs. Morgan and my neighbor Jake Patterson as witnesses because what I was about to do deserved an audience. Before they could even bring up my trucks, I stood and opened my folder. "Let's start with enforcement inconsistencies," I said. I laid out my photos across the table like a poker dealer flipping aces. Danny's landscaping trailer parked overnight. Frank's RV breaking their own aesthetic standards. 3 other neighbors' boats, vans, and work vehicles that somehow escaped Linda's scrutiny. The silence that followed was so heavy you could spread it on toast. Bob looked like he'd rather be getting a root canal. Margaret's pen clicked nervously like a woodpecker. "This," I said evenly, "is targeted harassment. You've created rules solely to punish me while turning a blind eye to your friends and family." Linda's face turned the exact shade of a fire engine. "Those are completely different circumstances," she snapped. "Oh really? How exactly? I asked. Mr. Hawthorne's RV is grandfathered under previous regulations. Then, show me those regulations. Silenced out the kind that hums with guilt. The air conditioner kicked on, its low rumble sounding like it was laughing at the circus. And your son's overnight parking, I pressed. That's temporary business equipment staging. My trucks are also temporary business equipment staging. Your trucks are *industrial. Your son's 500-gallon chemical sprayer isn't industrial. Jake Patterson lifted his hand timidly, like we were back in grade school. When were these grandfather clauses established? Bob squirmed in his seat like the chair had turned to nails. We haven't formally documented, so they don't exist, I interrupted. You're making up exemptions on the spot. Linda jumped to her feet like she'd been catapulted. This meeting is about your noncompliance, Mr. Torres, not the board's authority. That's when things got interesting. I raised my phone, screen glowing like a trophy. Actually, this meeting's about selective enforcement and discrimination. I'm recording everything for my attorney, and every ridiculous excuse you've made tonight just became evidence. The room froze. You could hear nothing except Margaret's nervous pen clicking like a Morse code. Distress signal. Bob looked like he wished the floor would swallow him whole. Mrs. Hawthorne, I said, savoring the moment. Either enforce your rules equally or admit they're a sham, but I'm not paying extortion money for violations half this neighborhood commits daily. That's when Linda's carefully polished composure cracked like cheap glass. Her voice shot up an octave. Mr. Torres, if you continue this disruptive behavior, we'll be forced to take stronger action. There it was, the threat I'd been waiting for. Because what Linda didn't know was that while she'd been busy playing neighborhood tyrant, I'd already started digging into her background. And what I'd uncovered was about to flip her world upside down faster than a concrete mixer in an earthquake. Her stronger action arrived soon enough. Wednesday morning, while I was loading concrete mix, a white city van rolled up. I'd stepped Linda smug as ever with some guy in a hard hat and holding a clipboard, from the way they chatted. I guessed he was a buddy from her old planning department job. The morning air smelled like fresh asphalt and impending bureaucratic warfare. Anonymous complaints about noise and safety violations, she announced proudly, like a cat dropping a dead mouse at your feet. The inspector looked like he'd rather be getting a colonoscopy, probably because showing up with asterisk. The complainant killed any illusion of neutrality. I watched him trudge around my property for 20 minutes, measuring setbacks, checking permits, snapping photos like he was documenting a crime scene. Linda shadowed him the whole time, pointing at my trucks, whispering suggestions that sounded suspiciously like witness coaching. Concrete dust tickled my nose as I waited for his verdict. When he finally finished, the man smiled and shook my hand. Beautiful setup, Mr. Torres. Your concrete pad exceeds code. Trucks are properly registered. And your maintenance is top-notch. No violations found. Linda's face went through more color changes than a mood ring in a microwave, but she wasn't finished yet. 2 days later, another certified letter showed up, this time from the State Contractor Licensing Board. Anonymous complaints again, accusing me of running an illegal business from a residential property. They claimed I stored hazardous materials, operated without permits, and violated zoning laws. The report was detailed, specific, and completely fabricated. I'd bet my best sledgehammer that Linda's manicured fingerprints were all over those papers, probably still smelling like her overpriced vanilla perfume. While I handled that bureaucratic mess, I decided to dig deeper into Linda's past. My accountant friend, Bobby Morgan, had taught me a few tricks during my divorce about finding financial records, and what I uncovered made her petty harassment look like child's play. 3 years ago, Linda had filed for bankruptcy then refinanced her house twice within 18 months. Her credit report displayed more red flags than a Soviet parade ground, but what really made my blood pressure spike was a pattern buried in the details. She'd been systematically targeting certain homeowners with violations. And every single one of them had sold their homes within 6 months for less than market value. This wasn't about my trucks anymore. Linda was orchestrating a calculated harassment campaign to push out working-class families and replace them with wealthier residents. From my years in construction, I knew HOA board members have what's called a *** fiduciary duty *** a legal obligation to act in the best interest of *** all *** homeowners. Using that power for personal vendettas isn't just unethical, it's the kind of thing courts punish with massive financial damages. Linda's complaint letters all followed identical templates. Her violation notices targeted the same group of people again and again. And her emergency meetings always seemed to line up with homes about to hit the market. She wasn't maintaining the neighborhood, she was ** gentrifying * it, one lawsuit at a time. So, I hired attorney Patricia Valdez, a specialist in HOA law with a reputation for turning smug board presidents into legal roadkill. After reviewing my documentation, Patricia filed formal complaints for ** selective enforcement ** and requested a full audit of both HOA's finances and Linda's decisions. When Patricia described the potential damages Linda could face, her confident grin reminded me why I always hire the best subcontractors. Linda's reaction was predictably nuclear. She announced ** special assessment vote ** for neighborhood beautification, proposing ** $5.00 per household fee ** for so-called aesthetic improvements at the community center meeting. The fluorescent lights buzzed overhead like angry wasps as Linda droned on about maintaining appropriate neighborhood standards and attracting quality residents. Her loyal supporters, mostly retirees and owners of oversized McMansions, nodded along like bobbleheads, while the working families sat frozen, looking like they'd just been hit by a financial wrecking ball. After the meeting, she cornered me in the parking lot, the smell of cooling asphalt mixing with her desperation. "Mr. Torres," she said sweetly, "this could all go away if you'd just be reasonable about your truck situation." I took out my phone and hit record. Define * reasonable *. Double quotes. Her eyes glinted like shards of broken glass under the streetlight. A modest relocation fee to cover administrative costs, say $50,000. The number hit me like a sledgehammer. There it was, ** extortion *. Caught crystal clear on video. Linda had just handed me enough evidence to bury her deeper than a septic tank foundation. The community was splitting apart faster than cracked concrete. Working-class families began meeting in Jake Patterson's garage to plan resistance, while Linda's loyalists formed her so-called Neighborhood Standards Committee. Mrs. Morgan confided that Linda had stopped by, subtly suggesting that elderly residents might be ** happier * in senior communities with proper support services. 3 more families received foreclosure threats over bogus violations. Jake got cited for his kids' bicycles being improperly stored ** inside * his own garage. And teacher Sarah Mills was written up for driving a car that didn't reflect the community's image. But Linda made one fatal mistake in her quest for suburban domination. She declared war on the wrong person. Because I was about to uncover something in county records that would reduce her empire to rubble faster than a controlled demolition. Her next move was so outrageous it could have won her an award for * neighborhood villain of the year. * She announced a * partnership with Pinnacle Properties **, a development firm known for turning modest neighborhoods into luxury playgrounds for the rich. At a hastily arranged board meeting, the air smelled of cheap coffee and expensive deceit as Linda unveiled glossy brochures showing enhanced community concepts with high-end condos and premium amenities. Her pitch: selling off our * common areas * to fund beautification projects. What she didn't mention was that her husband, Frank *, had secretly been consulting for Pinnacle Properties for 6 months, earning fees that mysteriously matched their mortgage payments. I found proof of Frank's consulting deal in public financial records, but I decided to wait. Sometimes in construction, the smartest move is letting the other crew's foundation crack before pointing it out. Meanwhile, Jake Patterson, leveraging his background in journalism, was quietly gathering evidence. He documented Linda's secret meetings with Pinnacle reps, photographed license plates, and logged every visit. Our investigation uncovered a *** coordinated acquisition scheme ** buying up distressed properties below market value, then redeveloping the subdivision into upscale housing no working family could afford. Harassment campaign escalated like a storm gaining strength. Linda instituted ** monthly compliance inspections ** that felt more like military patrols than neighborhood oversight, handing out violation notices for things as petty as grass height differences of half an inch. Violations now extended to mailbox colors allegedly clashing with community aesthetics, and Mrs. Morgan's cherished garden gnomes, which Linda claimed threatened the dignity of the neighborhood. The sharp echo of Linda's designer heels striking the pavement became our community's unofficial air raid alarm, a signal for residents to conceal anything that might provoke her bureaucratic fury. My concrete company had become her chosen battleground. Linda began issuing threats of legal action for supposed chronic noncompliance, even claiming the authority to prohibit my customers from entering the neighborhood. When the Hendersons hired me to replace their crumbling driveway, she turned into a one-woman surveillance squad, photographing every truck, logging concrete delivery times with stopwatch precision, and pestering neighbors for information about who had hired my services. Watching her attempt to intimidate 40,000-pound concrete mixers was like seeing someone try to herd elephants with a feathered S. Ambitious but absurd, Linda's scorched earth tactics exposed her true objectives in crystal clarity. She filed property liens against 5 homeowners, mine included, demanding payment for alleged unpaid assessments and penalties. The accompanying legal threats warned of foreclosure within 90 days if balances weren't settled immediately. Those certified letters carried the weight of official courthouse notices, but were built on legal ground as unstable as a condemned structure in an earthquake. In short, Linda was threatening to seize our homes over violations that were, at best, dubiously legitimate. As tensions escalated, my own investigation began to rival the work of seasoned detectives. Following attorney Patricia's advice, I formally requested that HOAs complete records under state transparency laws in what I uncovered could have fueled a demolition site. Linda had been siphoning whole funds to cover her personal legal bills, disguising bankruptcy attorney payments as administrative consultations. Reserve funds meant for community maintenance had mysteriously vanished into unauthorized expenditures that perfectly matched the timeline of her personal financial crises. The smoking gun appeared in email exchanges between Linda and Pinnacle Properties, who detailed discussions about residential demographic optimization and the removal of problematic existing homeowners. One email specifically cited working class and ethnic families as being incompatible with the no upscale community image. Reading those messages felt like stumbling upon a conspiracy written in black and white, complete with timelines for fabricating violations and fast-tracking foreclosures. The stench of discrimination hung heavier than the fumes of fresh concrete sealant. Mrs. Morgan tearfully confessed that Linda had approached her with paperwork suggesting legal incompetency, implying older residents belonged in assisted living facilities rather than in their own homes. Jake Patterson recorded Linda's harassment over his children's outdoor toys, which she labeled visual deterioration factors. Sarah Mills, a divorced schoolteacher, became a repeated target because her modest Honda didn't fit the community's image standards. Our neighborhood began splintering faster than poorly mixed concrete in a deep freeze. Linda's backers, mostly wealthy retirees and oversized homeowners, formed her so-called Community Standards Coalition, while working families met secretly in garages, organizing resistance like an underground rebellion. Property values nosedived amid the turmoil, exactly as Linda intended, creating prime opportunities for her development partners to scoop up distressed homes. When 3 more families received foreclosure warnings, the situation drew local media attention. Linda seized the spotlight eagerly, presenting herself as a valiant defender of property values and order against commercial intrusion. She staged press interviews from her manicured front lawn, strategically framed by her husband's massive RV, all while condemning my work trucks for ruining neighborhood character. The hypocrisy was thicker than wet concrete and just as hard to ignore. But while Linda enjoyed her media fame and paraded her authority, I was quietly digging through county archives, and what I uncovered would bring her empire crashing down. Hidden in those records was a legal detail about my property's classification that Linda had completely overlooked. Something that would flip the balance of power faster than a concrete truck emptying its load, reducing her rule to rubble. The revelation that destroyed Linda's kingdom arrived on a rainy Thursday afternoon in the county recorder's office. The air was heavy with the scent of dust and aging paper, motes dancing under flickering fluorescent light. Attorney Patricia had suggested examining the original subdivision documents to strengthen our harassment case, but instead, we stumbled onto legal dynamite. Dorothy, the ever-cheerful clerk who'd worked there since the disco era, retrieved the original subdivision plat from 1987. The faded pages crackled like autumn leaves as she spread them across the worn wooden counter. Something made Patricia stop talking mid-sentence. My parcel wasn't labeled like the rest. Instead of a routine residential lot, it was listed as ***master developer lot**, with covenant language that made Patricia's eyes pop as if she'd seen a miracle. "Holy Mike," Patricia breathed, forgetting professional restraint. "Do you understand what this means?" I squinted at the archaic legal text spread across the page. "Enlighten me before I have a heart attack from suspense." She pointed to specific clauses buried in the maze of covenants. Your property preserves the master developer rights from the original subdivision. The builder retained approval authority over all HOA decisions, and those rights transfer automatically with ownership. The news landed on me like a sledgehammer to the gut. "You're saying I can veto Linda's rules?" Patricia's grin could have lit the whole building. "Not only veto. Under these covenants, the master developer holds approval over new ordinances, assessment increases, and board actions. Linda's commercial vehicle rule is dead without your signature. Her special assessment, legally meaningless. Her fines, invalid fantasies from a powerless dictator." We spent 2 hours mining that legal treasure while rain drummed against the windows like applause for our find. The original developer had passed away 5 years earlier. Through his estate sale, my house and all master developer privileges had transferred with it. The prior owner either missed the detail or ignored it, but in any case, the authority had automatically become mine. I'd been wielding nuclear-grade power while Linda had been attacking with foam pool noodles. Patricia barely contained her excitement as she laid out the scope of my newfound clout. Traditionally, the master developer carries a 51% voting weight on HOA matters. You can remove board members with 30 days' notice. You can override any rule enacted without your consent. And best of all, you can seek financial damages for harm caused by invalid board actions. The taste of imminent victory was sweeter than concrete dust after a perfect pour. But beyond personal retribution, something larger was forming in my head. Linda had terrorized working families, bullied elderly neighbors like Mrs. Morgan, and discriminated against anyone who didn't meet her picture-perfect standard. Now I had the legal authority to dismantle her reign and help every family she'd targeted. Justice would arrive in concrete mixer proportions. "We could bury Linda's operation tomorrow," Patricia said, "but patience will maximize the impact. Let her keep digging while we document everything. When we reveal your master developer status publicly, the psychological blow will be devastating. Every rule she passed, every fine issued, every threat becomes proof of board fraud, possibly criminal." I thought of Mrs. Morgan and the incompetency threat, Jake's harassment over his kids' toys, and Sarah Mills being targeted for her car. Linda had been playing chess while assuming she was the queen, not realizing I owned the whole board, the pieces, and the table. The irony was as perfect as a flawlessly leveled foundation. She'd spent months trying to oust me from a neighborhood where I held ultimate legal authority. Walking out of the recorder's office into the cool evening, I felt like a newly anointed ruler. Linda had made my life miserable without knowing she'd been attacking someone who could legally annihilate her power with a single covenant page. The predator was about to find out she'd been stalking an apex predator, and her season was over. The next stage felt like assembling the dream crew for the most satisfying demolition job of my career. By Saturday morning, my kitchen table had become mission control. Coffee steaming, legal papers spread like blueprints for her destruction, the aroma of a strong Colombian roast mixed with the heady scent of impending justice as Patricia and I sketched our plan. "We're not just stopping Linda," she said. "We're creating a case that protects every family and prevents this nightmare from recurring." Bobby Morgan, our forensic accountant, and Mrs. Morgan's sharp-eyed son, became our money sleuth. When I showed him Linda's HOA expense reports, he reacted immediately and colorfully. "Mike, this woman's treated community funds like her personal ATM," he said. The so-called administrative consultation fees lined up perfectly with her bankruptcy lawyer's invoices. His laptop keys clicked furiously as he cross-checked dates with Linda's court filings. "Here's something every homeowner should know," Bobby explained. "HOA boards must keep detailed financial records, general ledgers, and check registers, and homeowners have legal rights to inspect those books for personal expenses hidden as community business." Jake Patterson converted his spare room into a surveillance command center that would make an investigative newsroom jealous. Timelines plastered the walls, photography gear sat ready to document activity blocks away, and every harassment incident was logged with timestamps and witness statements. "Linda's pattern will be so obvious even a legally blind judge could see it," Jake said as his printer churned out stacks of evidence like a winning slot machine payout. Sarah Mills volunteered as our community educator, using her teaching skills to inform neighbors of rights they never knew they had. Her harassment records showed Linda's laser-focused targeting of single mothers, seniors, and working-class households in planning sessions. Sarah's clarity cut through complexity like a chainsaw through balsa wood. "Linda isn't merely power-hungry," she said. "She's running a systematic discrimination campaign using HOA authority as her tool." Sarah organized backyard meetings that felt like underground resistance gatherings, where families shared stories and learned their legal options. Patricia laid out our legal strategy with the precision of a surgeon. "The master developer rights give us nuclear-level power," she said, "but we'll strengthen the case with conventional firepower." Our approach included claims for *** breach of fiduciary duty, selective enforcement, financial mismanagement, and civil rights violations ***. She'd researched similar precedents cases where rogue board members faced six-figure personal judgments for abusing their authority and discriminating against certain groups. The gleam in Patricia's eyes when discussing potential damages reminded me exactly why I only hired top-tier experts for critical jobs. Bobby's financial investigation uncovered $47.00 in unauthorized withdrawals ** from HOA reserve funds, money Linda had funneled into her own legal bills disguised as administrative consultations. Expense records showed inflated payments to her son's landscaping company about 30% above market rate, while legitimate maintenance requests were routinely denied due to budget limits. The biggest bombshell, though, was ** evidence of kickbacks from Pinnacle Properties **, where Linda had been receiving consulting fees for pushing disruptive redevelopment plans that would line her pockets. Our investigation widened beyond finances to expose her harassment tactics. Jake's photographs captured Linda's hypocrisy in high definition. Her son's industrial rigs parked overnight without issue, her husband's oversized RV blatantly breaking the aesthetic rules she weaponized against others, and her own cars exceeding community parking limits without penalty. We cataloged every double standard, every discriminatory act, every abuse of power that defined her suburban reign. Meanwhile, Sarah's neighborhood resistance meetings had evolved into something like a secret work council. Families gathered to share their harassment stories while she documented each one with scholarly accuracy. Mrs. Morgan described Linda's attempt to declare her legally incompetent over her garden decor. The Hendersons revealed foreclosure threats after they hired me for concrete work. Each family added another layer of proof, another round in our arsenal against Linda's discrimination. Watching them realize they weren't alone was like observing concrete cure, slow at first, then unbreakably strong. All the while, I kept up appearances, running my business, greeting neighbors, and pretending everything was normal. Each new job, though, became a covert evidence mission. I recorded Linda's attempts to interfere with my customers, her threats to ban clients from public roads, and her intimidation of residents who worked with me. Every one of her outbursts became another charge beneath the crumbling foundation of her authority. And here was the poetic irony that fueled my late nights. Linda was *** building her own gallows *** with every illegal act she committed. Our plan was simple yet devastatingly effective. Let her keep digging, document every move, and then trigger the explosion in front of a packed community meeting, preferably with cameras rolling. Linda had spent months constructing her empire of intimidation, never realizing she was compiling evidence for her own downfall. The hunter had become the prey. Trapped by her own arrogance and the patience of those she tormented, her panic reached critical mass when she realized her bullying wasn't breaking me. 2 weeks after our strategy sessions, I received a ** foreclosure notice ** so official looking it could have come straight from the Supreme Court. The heavy paper smelled of expensive lawyers and desperation. Linda claimed the HOA had the right to seize my property over unpaid assessments and repeated violations, scheduling the foreclosure for the following month. She genuinely believed financial terror would make me surrender. What she didn't know was that every document she filed was ** another shovel of dirt on her legal grave **. Then came the sabotage, quiet, insidious, and personal. My trucks started suffering mysterious accidents, sugar poured in gas tanks, slashed tires, and paint keyed with jagged letters spelling * go away *. The sharp stench of vandalism lingered around my driveway like chemical warfare. Conveniently, Linda always seemed nearby, playing the innocent bystander. Her morning inspection walks just happened to line up perfectly with my discovery of each new act of destruction. Watching her feign concern was like watching a toddler deny eating cookies with chocolate all over their face. Her most underhanded strike targeted my business reputation. Anonymous complaints suddenly flooded the ** Better Business Bureau ** accusing me of shoddy work, stolen materials, and safety violations. Fake online reviews popped up overnight, stories of botched jobs and imaginary disasters. One read: * Torres concrete destroyed my driveway and flooded my basement. * Signed by a supposed * concerned homeowner 47 *. It was pure fiction, but it reeked of Linda's vanity perfume and her signature brand of spite. The digital onslaught was so precisely executed it resembled a full-scale psychological warfare mission. A calculated attempt to annihilate my reputation and livelihood through character destruction. Yet, as Linda intensified her campaign, I kept my composure and routine intact, acting as though nothing unusual was happening. Each morning, I loaded up my trucks and drove to job sites, calmly documenting every incident of harassment while appearing utterly unaffected. My crew sensed the growing tension but followed my lead, treating Linda's intimidation like bad weather, unpleasant but temporary. The roar of concrete mixers each dawn became our battle anthem, drowning out the click of Linda's heels and her whispered venom. Jake Patterson's surveillance work exposed Linda's network with surgical precision. Through his long-range lens, he captured late-night backyard meetings where she handed out orders like a general to her loyal troops. Margaret Finch was told to file noise complaints anytime my equipment ran before 8 a.m. Bob's assignment was to photograph anyone who dared hire my services. Meanwhile, her husband, Frank, was tasked with tailing my trucks and reporting fabricated traffic infractions during deliveries. The coordination was absurdly meticulous, a petty little war run like a military campaign. Community tension swelled to breaking point. Within a week, 3 more families received foreclosure threats over violations so ridiculous they bordered on parody. The Patels were fined for hanging laundry outdoors. Accused of causing visual pollution, elderly Mr. Rodriguez was penalized for parking his old pickup in his driveway because it displayed his plumbing company's logo, a supposed commercial eyesore. Linda's enforcement had become so ludicrous that neighbors began comparing violation letters like collectible cards. Laughing at her inventiveness in tormenting working families, the story caught the attention of local media when Linda staged a press conference to promote her partnership with Pinnacle Properties. Standing proudly on her manicured lawn right beside her husband's oversized RV that broke multiple HOA rules, she announced plans to elevate neighborhood demographics. The hypocrisy was thicker than wet cement. Reporter Amanda Morgan, no relation to Mrs. Morgan from our group, shredded Linda's talking points with sharp questions about selective enforcement, making Linda's canned responses sound like a politician dodging corruption charges. But Linda's nuclear option exposed her true nature in spectacular form. She began orchestrating weekly visits from city inspectors, citing anonymous complaints of safety violations and illegal business activity. These inspections accomplished nothing except wasting taxpayer money. But her political connections kept them coming like clockwork. The sound of official vehicles pulling into my driveway became as regular and twice as irritating as the mailman's route. Her next desperate strike came through the planning department. Using her influence, Linda filed formal complaints to have my business license revoked, alleging I was running an illegal commercial operation from my home, storing hazardous materials without permits, and violating zoning laws. The paperwork was immaculately drafted and timed to coincide with her foreclosure threats. A one-two-punch designed to crush me legally and financially. Through it all, I stayed composed, calm, confident, and deliberate, like a poker player sitting on a royal flush while everyone else bluffed with weak hands. Linda was burning through her credibility and political power faster than a wildfire devouring dry grass, while I quietly gathered the evidence that would later bury her. Every fake report was logged. Every abuse of power was recorded. Every inspection was photographed. She thought we were playing chess, but I was conducting a multi-dimensional campaign, armed with weapons she didn't even know existed. Her downfall came roaring in like a hurricane. 3 days after the news coverage aired, a polished man in a tailored suit showed up at my door, briefcase in hand, exuding arrogance and expensive cologne. The morning air was heavy with storm tension as he introduced himself, Richard Castellanos, legal counsel for concerned community stakeholders. His smile had all the charm of a tax audit. "Mr. Torres," he began smoothly, "my clients are prepared to make a generous offer to resolve this unfortunate dispute." The offer was as bold as it was insulting: $50,000 in cash if I agreed to relocate my business and withdraw all legal complaints against Linda and the HOA. "Consider this a goodwill gesture," he added, sliding a cashier's check across my table like a poker dealer pushing chips. "My clients simply want to restore harmony in the community." The threat beneath his words hung thick in the air, heavier than concrete dust on a still summer day. "Naturally, if you prefer ongoing legal headaches and business disruption, that's your prerogative." I pulled out my phone and hit record, watching his slick composure flake away like cheap paint in the sun. But Linda escalated to a darker level. The online attacks progressed into full-blown character assassination that even dragged Child Protective Services into the mess. Anonymous callers alleged that neighborhood kids were endangered by industrial equipment and hazardous materials. CPS investigators showed up at Jake Patterson's home to evaluate his children's living conditions after complaints about an unsafe environment tied to my work. Hearing officials interrogate parents about their kids because of my lawful business operations pushed my blood pressure higher than a concrete pump. Linda brought in her psychological warfare to terrorize senior residents with bureaucratic assaults. Mrs. Morgan began receiving visits from Adult Protective Services after tipsters claimed she was incompetent due to supposed neglected property upkeep and failure to meet community standards. The gentle widow who baked cookies for neighborhood kids suddenly had to defend her mental fitness to government agents. Watching her confusion and fear during those visits felt like witnessing someone kick a puppy. It took every ounce of restraint not to obliterate Linda's campaign on the spot. The harassment network had metastasized into a coordinated conspiracy involving city officials, contractors, and tactics that looked alarmingly organized. Frank, Linda's husband, started tailing my trucks, photographing license plates and logging delivery times like an industrial spy. Her son, Danny, began underbidding me on local concrete jobs, offering estimates roughly 30% below cost to steal business. The coordination was so thorough it resembled a petty military campaign aimed at destroying my livelihood through economic sabotage. Tensions peaked when Linda convened an emergency meeting to declare the Pinnacle Properties deal a done deal. The community center buzzed with anxiety among folding chairs as she displayed glossy renderings of luxury condos replacing modest family homes. Current residents will have first opportunity to buy upgraded units, she announced with the practiced charm of a HOA salesman, implicitly adding that not everyone would qualify for the new, improved community profile. The message was plain: submit to her control or be priced out. Linda's support base began to crumble. Margaret Finch quietly resigned from the board after she learned of the criminal probe into HOA accounting. Bob discovered his rental units were being targeted and switched allegiances overnight. Even her staunchest backers started to question her increasingly erratic behavior and blatant financial motives. The sound of her political scaffold collapsing was sweeter than any harmony of concrete mixers. Her hubris peaked in public. At that emergency meeting, she declared the foreclosures would proceed no matter the community's objections, asserting that board authority trumped individual property rights on matters of community welfare. She actually believed her HOA presidency conferred near government powers to seize private homes. Linda had crossed from overbearing neighbor to delusional despot, and multiple people recorded her statements for the legal file. The last straw came when she physically tried to block my customers from using neighborhood streets. She planted herself in the roadway, clipboard raised, demanding IDs from concrete drivers and threatening to call police for trespass. Watching a 58-year-old retired bank manager try to restrain union concrete drivers was like watching someone try to stop a freight train with a broom, amusing for onlookers, disastrous for the challenger. Behind the scenes, our preparations had reached final stages like a demolition job minutes from detonation. Patricia had verified all master developer documentation with county officials. Bobby's forensic accounting was complete, revealing the trail of embezzlement. Jake had compiled video evidence so damning it would make prosecutors sob with joy. The community was ready for Linda's public unmasking, media contacts were primed, and legal filings stood at the ready. Linda had spent months erecting her own scaffold. The day of reckoning was falling faster than unsecured concrete. The annual HOA meeting arrived like Judgment Day. The community center, built for 50, was filled to bursting. 89 of 94 homeowners squeezed into folding chairs like sardines in a legal can. The air conditioning battled unsuccessfully against the body heat and rising tension, while the sharp mix of sweat and industrial-grade cleaner hung in the air. At the back of the room, local news crews adjusted their cameras, their bright lights transforming the gathering into a courtroom drama for the evening news. Officer Martinez from the sheriff's department stood by the exit ostensibly for crowd control, but his expression said he was bracing for fireworks. Linda entered like a monarch striding toward her coronation. Her designer heels struck the linoleum in crisp, militant rhythm, and her tailored suit radiated self-assurance, confidence that might have been admirable if it weren't seconds away from implosion. Clutching a leather portfolio thick enough to stop a bullet, she settled at the front table, surrounded by her dwindling circle of 5 loyal retirees and one visibly uncomfortable husband. The fluorescent lights hummed overhead like angry wasps about to swarm. "Thank you for attending this important meeting," Linda declared, lowering herself into the chair like she was assuming a throne. "We'll be discussing critical neighborhood improvements and compliance enforcement." Her tone carried the conviction of someone convinced she owned everyone's destiny. The murmurs rolling through the crowd sounded like distant thunder warning of a coming storm. Then Sarah Mills rose. Her teacher's voice sliced through the tension with surgical precision as she presented a petition bearing 67 signatures. "Mrs. Hawthorne," she said evenly, "this petition demands your immediate resignation for abuse of authority, selective enforcement, and discrimination against working-class families." The room erupted in applause, loud, sharp, and relentless, echoing off concrete walls like rapid gunfire. Jake Patterson followed. Armed with documentation that could have been entered straight into evidence, he read from his timeline of harassment incidents, each line draining more color from Linda's face. Violation notices targeting single mothers, threats against elderly residents, systematic persecution of minority homeowners. he announced, as cameras zoomed in on Linda's tightening jaw. "This isn't community improvement, it's social cleansing disguised as property management." Linda's composure fractured. "These accusations are baseless propaganda meant to undermine legitimate authority," she snapped. Her professional mask slipping, she jabbed a finger toward me. "Mr. Torres and his followers are destroying this community's standards. Continued disruption will lead to serious legal action." Then Mrs. Morgan stood. Her frail frame trembled, but her voice, though wavering, commanded absolute silence. "You tried to have me declared incompetent because my garden wasn't perfect," she said, tears glistening on her cheeks. "You threatened to take my home because I'm old and foreign. This is America. You can't take our homes because we're different." The room exploded with applause. Even Linda's remaining allies sank lower in their chairs, wishing they could disappear. I rose next, briefcase in hand, walking to the podium with deliberate calm, the kind of walk reserved for delivering verdicts. The crowd hushed as I opened my case and pulled out the documents that would shatter her empire. "Before Mrs. Hawthorne continues with her foreclosure threats," I began, my voice carrying across the packed room, "there's something she and all of you should know about my property." I placed the master developer covenant under the projector, and the crowd collectively gasped as the legal text appeared on screen. "According to county records," I continued, "my property retains master developer rights from the original subdivision. Every rule, assessment, and board decision requires my approval." The silence was deafening. Even the hum of their events seemed to pause. Linda's complexion turned ashen. "Those papers are fake," she stammered, voice cracking like ice underfoot. "You're manipulating this community." Patricia stepped forward then, holding authenticated county documents and verified legal opinions. "These are official," she announced calmly. "As master developer," I said, savoring the moment, "I hereby nullify all your ordinances, void your fines, and declare every foreclosure threat legally worthless." The room detonated in cheers and applause. It sounded like a concrete plant erupting with joy. Linda sat frozen, her expression vacant, her authority disintegrating before her eyes. But I wasn't done. I also moved for immediate board removal on grounds of financial mismanagement, abuse of power, and civil rights violations. Patricia handed me Bobby's financial report showing $47,000 in missing funds. "Your use of HOA money for personal expenses constitutes criminal fraud. Law enforcement will handle the rest." As Linda scrambled to leave, Officer Martinez stepped forward, blocking her path. "Ma'am, please remain seated," he said. "Detective Williams has some questions about your financial activity." The crowd watched, stunned, as Linda's empire collapsed in real time, authority crumbling faster than a condemned structure under demolition. By the next day, the fallout was complete. Linda was booked on charges of embezzlement, extortion, and abuse of public trust. Her mugshot lit up local news broadcasts under a headline that read, **** former HOA president arrested for fraud. ****, the long night was over and justice, at last, had dawned. Her expression in that photo looked like someone realizing too late they'd been playing poker with a professional while holding nothing but napkins. The district attorney's office, sensing corruption like bloodhounds catching scent, filed extra charges for conspiracy and civil rights violations after reviewing Jake's treasure trove of surveillance evidence. Change swept through our community faster than concrete hardening under a summer sun. That same night, we held an emergency board election. Sarah Mills won unanimously as president, joined by a diverse group of working-class families who believe true neighborhoods thrive on inclusion, not exclusion. Their first act was symbolic and just, returning every dollar Linda had wrongfully taken. $23,000 flowed back to the victims of her financial bullying. Mrs. Morgan accepted her refund with tears of joy, immediately investing it in a garden overflowing with the flowers Linda once banned. Our financial comeback exceeded every expectation. Faced with Bobby's airtight forensic accounting, the HOAS insurance company settled quicker than a demolition crew tearing down a condemned building, covering all legal fees and compensating those harassed. Meanwhile, Linda's frozen assets were redirected toward long-term community restoration. The development deal with Pinnacle Properties collapsed spectacularly once investors discovered the fraud linked to their former partner in progress. My own concrete business boomed beyond belief. Word of our victory spread through local media and social networks, turning my mixer trucks into rolling symbols of resilience and working-class pride. 3 families who'd nearly lost their homes to Linda's threats became my most loyal clients, each improvement project transforming victims of discrimination into pillars of our renewed community. The poetic irony was thicker than the finest concrete mix. Healing took root through friendships and shared purpose. Jake Patterson and I bonded over photography and construction, channeling our skills into neighborhood projects that brought people together like perfectly blended cement. Sarah Mills organized monthly potlucks where the aroma of global cuisines replaced the tension of past meetings, fostering genuine fellowship where conflict once reigned. Even Margaret Finch offered a public apology and joined our rebuilding efforts, showing that redemption was possible for everyone except the truly corrupt. Our proudest legacy became the Neighborhood Heroes Scholarship, created for local students pursuing trade careers, funded by recovered money and community donations. It honored Mrs. Morgan's resilience, Jake's investigative courage, and Sarah's leadership while providing opportunity to the very families Linda tried to exclude. Our first recipient, a brilliant young Latina studying concrete technology, received her award like a beacon of poetic justice, a solid foundation for the generations ahead. The annual Unity Festival soon replaced fear with celebration. Food trucks representing every culture lined the same streets Linda once patrolled with her ruler, measuring grass and judgment. Children played freely in spaces she deemed unsightly. The air was thick with the scent of grilled food and laughter, forever drowning out the memory of clicking heels and whispered threats. News outlets across the region shared our comeback story, inspiring countless other neighborhoods to challenge oppressive HOA regimes. Meanwhile, Linda's legal troubles kept piling up like interest on a karmic debt. Federal investigators pursued civil rights charges for her systematic discrimination. Her law license was suspended, her reputation destroyed, and multiple lawsuits guaranteed decades of financial accountability. And the ultimate twist of justice, her own home was foreclosed, the same fate she tried to inflict on others. 18 months later, I stand in my driveway with a cup of coffee, watching children play in streets once ruled by fear. My 3 polished work trucks gleam like monuments to perseverance. Mrs. Morgan tends her vibrant, defiant garden. They are rich with the scent of mulch and morning brew instead of desperation and perfume. Our neighborhood now thrives as the inclusive community Linda tried so hard to break. Here's the truth: ordinary people can defeat extraordinary bullies when they unite and fight smart. If you've faced your own HOA nightmare, share it in the comments. Your story might inspire our next Justice episode. And if this tale of suburban revenge and redemption lit a spark in you, hit that subscribe button for more HOA showdowns. Thank you for watching HOA Stories, where corrupt boards finally meet accountability. If today's saga kept you hooked, drop a like, comment your favorite moment, and subscribe so you don't miss the next epic reckoning.